This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good Sunday to you as we get set up to discuss a little bit about the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers, as there is one key storyline here that I really want to knock down on a little bit here as we get set up for the Stanley Cup Finals starting on Wednesday. It's already June. We got maximum 19 days left in the NHL season after today, so let's get to it. Let's waste no more time and tell you, if you are new to the channel, to consider hitting that subscribe button. Would love to have you aboard as a regular viewer here on the channel. Yeah, we have got the time ticking down on the NHL season, and what we know is the Edmonton Oilers have picked apart superb goaltending series in, series out thus far in these 2025 NHL playoffs. What we know about that? Well, why would I say that? Darcy Kemper, legitimate Vezina Trophy finalist. At least I think he is. That said, he still had a heck of a year, whether he is or not. It's too long ago to remember what happened in LA, other than the fact that we won and the fact that for another year in a row we beat LA's pretty good goaltending, or decent goaltending, or better than Stuart Skinner's goaltending, whatever you want to say. We beat LA's goaltending again. Now you move on to Adin Hill in the Vegas series, which, by the way, isn't that the guy that toasted us a few years back and went on to win a Stanley Cup? So the Oilers take down the incredible goaltending that the Vegas Golden Knights typically have, this time in the form of Adin Hill. And then in round 3, they take down Jake Ottinger, who again is Captain America for some people in terms of the crease in the USA side of hockey. You got also a situation where he's kind of a guy that perennial all-star kind of numbers at the NHL level, a guy who's typically always been great, had a great playoffs up until he faced the Edmonton Oilers this year, and now all of a sudden you roll up and face the guy that took you down last year, and the guy that quite honestly was the reason through games 1, 2, and possibly even 3 that you didn't have a victory in the first 3 games of the Stanley Cup Finals if you're the Oilers last year, in Sergei Bobrovsky. And here's what I like a little bit more than maybe last year's run is the fact that the Edmonton Oilers have made the opposing goaltender look that much worse when giving up goals. And I think it's a credit to the Oilers have a better team up front this year in terms of the dynamic way they can get to the net, right? I think as much as you might have loved McLeod and Fogle as Oilers, they were scratched at times in the playoff run last year simply for not getting to the blue paint enough. And now you got guys like Corey Perry, who instead of being scratched for those guys is in the lineup every single night. You got Evander Kane out there. You got other guys that are just going to the blue paint and causing chaos and scoring goals because of it. And I think that's a credit as to why we're starting to break down such good goaltending on this run, is the Oilers are just playing a more direct style and going straight to the net and trying to score goals as often as they can. And maybe that wasn't as near evident maybe against LA early on, or near as evident against Vegas. Maybe it was very evident against the Dallas Stars as you watch the Oilers games 2 through 5 just absolutely blow apart Jake Ottinger to the point that the Dallas Stars may become this year or next year's Vancouver Canucks, as the Vancouver Canucks became the Calgary Flames of a couple of years ago after facing the Edmonton Oilers and taking a brutal loss in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So this is where I get excited, okay? This is where it could be a very exciting opportunity for the Oilers. The Florida Panthers obviously have enjoyed a very good past several years, running back and forth to the Stanley Cup final every year, year in, year out. And now the Oilers, on their mission, kind of might have that secret recipe that takes down really what makes the Florida Panthers so stellar in the playoffs. I mean, Sergei Bobrovsky, you have somebody more average, some would say Stuart Skinner in there. The Florida Panthers maybe aren't the same team that they are right now as we face them on June 4th. Now that said, it depends, because you want to bash Stuart Skinner all you want, go ahead, that's your choice. But Stewie's a hell of a goaltender when you get to the 3rd round and beyond. And what I'm looking forward to this year is, as long as the Oilers, now with the lessons learned, kind of that business-like approach, and keep doing what has made them successful through 3 rounds against 3 very good goaltenders this year. Take it to Sergei Bobrovsky in games 1, 2, and 3. You're probably not down 3-0 in the series. And all of a sudden, yeah, the rest of the stuff is history here. As you know, Stuart Skinner's one hell of a goaltender as well in game 4s. And then you got game 5, 6. And you know what happened there last year for Stuart Skinner and the Edmonton Oilers. So there is a lot of potential here as long as the Oilers, like I said, continue to do what has made them successful against either elite goaltending this year or elite overall goaltending at the NHL level, and just, get it done. That's really all it comes down to. So what's exciting here is the fact that there is a trend to be able to talk about when it comes to taking down some pretty dang good goaltenders on this run. And I mean, mind you, most playoff teams have good goaltenders. I understand that. And most people would say that the Oilers have the weakest goaltending out of any of the teams I've mentioned in this video so far. Don't care. They get good goaltending 3rd round and on. And obviously we know what Stewie is capable of once he gets past that first little bobble in the start of the playoffs. So what we have now is a situation here for the Oilers as well where, you steal one game in the first 3 and it is a completely different script than it was last year. And that's another situation for the Oilers where, it's been a different story this year. Is you've had more success earlier in series. You've had more success, getting the ball rolling faster than maybe previous years, right? Vegas in 5, you have Dallas in 5. So the Oilers, I think it favors them heavily, given that Paul Maurice, I think him and Pete DeBoer are just typically unbeatable in Game 7. It favors the Oilers substantially if they can get a couple of victories in the first 3 games of this series and just, move forward towards going out to Florida, whether it be, you're 1-1 going to Florida and then you get game 3, or you're 2-0 and you lose game 3 in Florida. Just kind of, being down in Florida with a chance to hopefully have a split series at minimum coming back to Edmonton. That is going to be massive. So the Oilers, obviously, I think will look to just put the pedal to the metal here now that they've gotten to where they want to be and just dummy the Florida Panthers. Not 4 straight. Again, I think this gentleman's sweep tactic that the Oilers have been employing the past 2 rounds is very much in play should they continue to do and have the success against goaltending that they have had so far through 3 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Friends, thank you so much for being aboard here today. Like I said, it's kind of quiet days right now as we get set up for the Stanley Cup final. I could do a preview, but who really cares to hear that from me? So for right now, I'm up on, gone.